Yes, everyone, welcome back to another college basketball bracket prediction video. If you've been following the page for, I don't even know, 3 years now, I think this is the third year we're doing this, and you'd be familiar how we do this in the past. Usually a couple weeks before the tournament starts, I go on a bracketology, so I use Jerry Palm's just because this was the most recent updated one. I definitely disagree with some of the seedings he has in here, and I know a lot of people are not a fan of his seedings, but most recent one, this is out on Monday. I'm recording this Monday afternoon. It's going to go out Monday night. Just kind of worked out the best for timing wise, but we're going to get into this. We're going to go through every single game, give a little bit, some games to be talking more than other games like Alabama and Morehead State. Won't be spending too much time on, but the game below it, Rutgers, Oklahoma State, we're talking a lot about it. It's a great way to kind of get us into March Madness as it's starting in a couple of weeks. I'll do another video next week. Let me know if you want to do another bracket prediction video, if you want like overrated, underrated teams heading into the tournament, my Final Four, anything you guys want college basketball related, let me know. It's fun that I've been doing this for so long now. But yeah, let's get right into it. Alabama and Morehead State. Also, if you want to do this, I can drop the link in the description below. I know a lot of people like to do this on their free time, so I'll definitely be dropping this link. Don't know who to credit. I found this a long time ago. But anyway, Alabama, Morehead State. I will be going with Alabama here. There's not much to talk about. We'll talk about Alabama more as we get into the bracket, but for this matchup, not so much. Rutgers and Oklahoma State. Rutgers has been I think they lost 3 out of their last 4. Been falling into this little bit of losing streak after the great start they had. But Steve Pikiell pounding nails. I mean, you always know this Rutgers team's going to figure it out. I think they figure it out. I trust them a lot more than I trust this Oklahoma State team. So I'm going to take Rutgers here for the 8-9. St. Mary's and Southern Miss. So I go to App State. Very familiar with Southern Mississippi as they are top of the Sun Belt. And they have already clinched it. And I expect them to cruise on into the Sun Belt tournament as the 1 seed and win that thing. St. Mary's, on the other hand, has been ranked for most of the season. Obviously, he's been giving Gonzaga a run for their money in the WCC out west. I'm going to go with St. Mary's here. I think Southern Miss is really, really, really good. St. Mary's, I'm not sure, is a 5 seed. Obviously, you can take into who they've played, and we've been saying that with Gonzaga for so long now. I do think they're a really solid team. I think this is actually a lot better of a matchup as some people think. I think a lot of people would pick Southern Miss in this spot just because they've been absolutely dominating the Sun Belt. And Sun Belt is a pretty solid conference as a whole, but I'll go St. Mary's. I think they're really good. Xavier and Kent State. I'll go with Xavier here. Xavier has been very, very good to start the year out in their conference, but the Big East, obviously, as we'll talk about later, we got Marquette, we got Creighton. It's really heated up. I'm not super high on Xavier. I kind of think they're a little overrated, but there's a team I think is a little bit more overrated, which we'll get to later. But Kent State, I don't think draws any problems to them. I'm going to go with Xavier here. Northwestern and New Mexico or West Virginia. So Northwestern here. And again, I know in the past, if you've been looking at or following these videos, I do a lot of upsets. I'm still trying to do it because obviously the chaos of March Madness, but just, allow me to give my reasoning. And as time goes on, definitely we'll be changing these picks. But as of now, I have more favorites than I thought I did. I think it's just, I'm not really sure what the reason is, to be honest. But Northwestern, let me explain myself here, because a lot of people like that 11-6 upset. But Northwestern is only 1 game back in the Big Ten, and they could easily win it. This Northwestern team has just been exploding as of lately. They beat Indiana as of recently. They've beaten Illinois as of recent. They've been beating a lot of these great teams, getting gritty wins there in the Big Ten. And we can say what we want about the Big Ten. Obviously, we'll get into Indiana, Purdue later on. Those are the kind of high horses of the Big Ten. But Northwestern's right there. It could still win it. I really do like this Northwestern squad, so I'm going to get them to win. Virginia or Yale. Virginia, I am so high on. I think Virginia is going to be really, really good. We'll talk about them more, but I don't think Yale gives them a problem. Providence and Memphis, not super high on Providence. It's weird how each year the Big East teams, it's kind of more than we think. Providence, I'm not obviously it's Creighton, UConn, Xavier, Marquette are the 4 big teams. To me, I don't really see Providence in that conversation. And Memphis has some big matchups coming up. Obviously, they have the one against Houston coming up. We'll talk about Houston later. But Memphis is really, really good, obviously. a pretty big name, historic team. But they've really heated up as of late. I think Memphis gets the spot here. Then Baylor and Vermont. Baylor just suffered that loss to Kansas, but I love their guard play. Obviously, with Adam Flagler leading the way and so many others, that 3-man rotation at the guard play is great for Baylor. I think even though they lost and had one of the worst second halves that we've seen against Kansas, really exposed their defense, I think they're going to be fine. Kansas and UNC Asheville. Kansas has a chance to be the #1 overall seed. As of right now, they're not, but Kansas has really been heating it up. Could go back-to-back. First time since I believe that Florida squad in 05-06. So Kansas, really, really good. Illinois and Auburn. I like this Illinois squad. Obviously, we saw Illinois against Indiana this past weekend. They were without their best player, Terrence Shannon, and still almost got the win in Indiana and Bloomington. So I trust this Illinois squad than an up and down, inconsistent Auburn team, which obviously inconsistency going into the tournament. Illinois has a little bit of that, no doubt, but I think that when they get Shannon back, it's going to be a much better squad. Obviously, in the Big Ten, anything's possible. So I'll go with Illinois in this spot. Connecticut, Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts is, I'm not even just saying this because of the run last year. They are great from the perimeter. They're one of the best shooting teams in the country. Oral Roberts has a long winning streak. I'm not sure what the exact number is, but Oral Roberts is not a team you want to face in March Madness. I promise you that. And UConn, I think, is severely overrated. Oral Roberts, I think, I'm very confident if this was to happen in March Madness, I would love to take Oral Roberts in this spot. Indiana and Liberty. A lot of people were wanting Indiana to be higher ranked, and I believe they were 17th in the recent AP poll. No, Indiana's a really good team, and Trace Jackson Davis, if it wasn't for Zach Edey just being an absolute madman this year, then I think Trace Jackson Davis wins that AP Player of the Year. But because of Edey, he is that second place. But he's had an unbelievable year. I always take his PRA, his fantasy score, and prize picks, always hits. So shout out Trace Jackson Davis. San Diego State, Mississippi State, USC. San Diego State is ranked, but I'm going to go with Mississippi State. So this is Mississippi State, everyone, not USC that I'm going to be picking here. We'll move on. Iowa State and Eastern Washington. I'll go with Iowa State. A lot of people high on Iowa State. I'm not sure what their exact ranking was in the AP poll, but obviously out there in the Big 12, a lot of people, they've gotten those big wins at home. Yeah. Missouri, Nevada. Missouri is one of my favorite teams in all of college basketball. Kobe Brown has been unbelievable for them this year. They just recently lost to a team that we'll talk about later on, but I think Missouri will be really, really good in this tournament. And then Arizona, Colgate. I'll go with Arizona here. A lot of people are higher on that Arizona team than I am, but nonetheless. And there we go. Nonetheless, I still like the Arizona team. It's not super high. Houston and Texas A&M. Is that community college? Not quite sure, but I'll go with Houston here. Yeah, Houston, obviously Marcus Sasser it's so good that they have him back now. Houston, we know about Kelvin Sampson. I don't need to talk much. Michigan State, Pittsburgh. Michigan State, Tom Izzo. You can't bet them out. I'm going to bet they go on a hot streak. I know Michigan just beat them, but you're on the road. It's Michigan. They had all yellow. It's a tough environment, and I think Michigan is terrible. But Michigan State, I think, will figure it out. And I like them against Houston. I think I'm going to pick Houston to win that game, but that's going to be a good game. Creighton and Utah Valley. Everyone is on Creighton. I was before the season. You got Ryan Nemhard. You got Ryan Kalkbrenner. This team, everyone is so high on because of how they performed lately. Heading into the year, I thought they were a top 5 team. I think too many people are going to think too highly of this Blue Jay squad. So I'm not expecting too much. And then Gonzaga, Bradley. I'm not even just saying this because of Gonzaga and my frustration towards them for always picking them in the NCAA tournament. But Bradley is really, really good. They're going to surprise a lot of people come the NCAA tournament. And for a Gonzaga team that is, I know it's been of late, they've really heated it up. I think they've 1.3 points per possession is what they're averaging right now, which is a crazy amount offensively. They're really heating it up. They're playing their best basketball. You can't trust them in March, and I think Bradley is really, really solid. I'm going to go with Bradley here. TCU and FAU. TCU's they have a huge game tonight. I'm not sure what the result is. You're probably watching this knowing the results. They play Kansas. I think they're really good. Mike Miles and that TCU squad. They're going to be fine. I know recently they have not been. They were up to, I think, top 10 early in the year, down to 22. Big game tonight against Kansas. I think they win as a 2-point favorite. So I think TCU is going to win this spot. Iona and Tennessee, you can't really ignore they've beaten the big dogs. They just beat Alabama, one of the best defensive teams in the country. Alabama was horrific from beyond the arc in that game, and that's a testament to the Volunteers and their great defense. So I'll go with Tennessee in this spot. NC State and Arkansas. Arkansas is a team that you got to expect to really be good out in the SEC, but I think NC State, the big win against UNC. I know UNC is bad. Like NC State, though, top 25 team. I like this NC State squad. Texas and Stanford, I'll go with Texas, really big on them. Purdue is winning this game. Kentucky, that is an easy one for me. Iowa just suffered a terrible loss. Kentucky is easily on the come up, just beating Tennessee. I think Kentucky is making a run in this tournament. Hint, hint. I'm all in on the squad. They're playing so much better, just smarter basketball all around. Had so many problems with especially Oscar Tshiebwe's decision-making, his shot selection, but they've just been so much smarter as the year goes on. Obviously, like I just said, the big win against Tennessee. So Kentucky, Miami, Charleston. This is such a tough spot for Miami, because I actually think Miami is one of the better teams in this tournament. And people were saying this should be a top 10 team, but Charleston is so legit. They were up to 16-1 in their first 17 games. They've fallen off a little bit, but in terms of the 12 seed, winners of their conference, Charleston is definitely best of the bunch, and I think Miami gets a tough draw here. Give me Charleston in this matchup. And again, I know Miami fans are going to be super upset by this decision. If you're playing any other 12 seed, I think you win, but Charleston, again, is so dangerous. I think they're going to win this game. Marquette and VCU. I'm going VCU, and again, people are not going to like this. Marquette has been playing incredible basketball, but VCU themselves always gets in the conversation come March. I think they got a really solid squad this year. Marquette, again, I would love, and again, this is not the sole reason why I'm picking against them, but Shaka Smart, can he finally get something going come March time? Time will tell. He's got one of the best rosters he's had in a while since those Texas days. So would love to see what Marquette can do, but I'm going to go with VCU here. Boise State, Duke. Boise State's playing good ball, but Duke is playing better ball. Had the huge win against Syracuse over this weekend. They're kind of figuring out much better squad than UNC. If we go back to that first match, I would love to see how it happens in Chapel Hill at the last game of the season. But Duke is playing really good ball. But Kansas State will win this game against UC Irvine. Texas A&M. See, I don't get this. They're ranked 25th in the AP poll, but they're 10th here. Makes no sense. I'm a Maryland fan. This is probably the worst matchup possible, but Maryland obviously is a terrible, inconsistent shooting team. Just lost to Nebraska, and Texas A&M is climbing the ladder. So one team inconsistent, one team falling. Give me the consistent one all day long. And then UCLA and Youngstown State. Love UCLA. So we'll just go this. We'll go back to where we started, I guess. Alabama and Rutgers. I'll go with Alabama again. This Alabama team, I know, just lost to Tennessee, but high proficient shooting. Nate Oates at the helm. We know when they were that 2 seed, they beat Maryland that one year. Not sure how far they went, but it was a great offensive performance, and they've had it all season long. You got to reward them. They're definitely 1 seed in that top 4. They'll beat Rutgers, which is a team I'm not super high on. St. Mary's and Xavier. I'll go with St. Mary's here. Again, I'm not really sure how I feel about this Xavier team. St. Mary's, on the other hand, has been playing pretty consistent the whole year long. As of late, a little rough, but I think they'll figure it out. Still ranked, so yeah. Northwestern and Virginia. I'll go with Virginia. Northwestern's just not that good. And then defensively, I think Northwestern's going to have a nightmare against this Virginia squad in their guard play. Obviously consistent from 1 to 5, bringing back all of the guys from last year. Love Virginia. Memphis and Baylor. Baylor, I think, is going to get it done. Memphis, I just talked about. Big name program, but for Baylor, the guard play is just so legit. Kansas and Illinois. I'll go with Kansas here. Then Oral Roberts in Indiana. I'm going to go with the Oral Roberts. And again, people are not going to like this. There's IU fans that are probably a lot of you watching this. This Oral Roberts team, I think it's the number 1 team, maybe Charleston. And we'll talk about them in that other matchup on the 12 side on the other side. Oral Roberts, I think it's the one team you do not want to face if you're in the NCAA tournament. And Indiana, I guess, look, I get the Big Ten is extremely competitive, but I'm just not really trusting Indiana come tournament time. Almost lost to Illinois. I know, and I think they might rely way too much on Trace Jackson Davis. Oral Roberts, you get the win here. Iowa State's going to win this matchup, and then Missouri, I think it's the win over Arizona. I think Arizona is a little overrated. And again, Missouri is one of the underrated squads. So we're going to do that. UCLA, Texas A&M. I'll go with UCLA, Duke, Kansas State. So this is tough. Again, I'm going to go with Kansas State. I can't trust Duke. I know they play a lot better. Again, this is not a hyperbole. I would like to see them against Louisville. It seems like a trap game to be close, and I want them to take care of business. I want them to take care of business as the season goes on. UNC in that last game. A lot of potential matchups I would love to see from this Duke squad, but Kansas State's going to win this. I trust them just a lot more. Charleston and VCU, we got a 12 and 13 matchup. We'll go with Charleston again. I just talked about with Miami. They'll get a win against VCU. And then Purdue and Kentucky. I'm going to go with Kentucky, a team that is hot, red hot. I know that Purdue, you can't really punish them. They've lost 3 out of the last 4. Things are a little rough there. I think they're going to figure it out. But if they don't, Kentucky definitely can take this matchup from them. Love the squad. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kentucky. NC State and Texas. Texas is definitely winning that one. TCU, Tennessee. I'm going with TCU here. Again, look, I would love to see what they do in this matchup against Kansas today. I think they're going to surprise a lot of folks and be like, yes, we are still getting underlooked, which I believe they are. I believe they should be in the 10 to 20 mark. It'll be proved today when they play Kansas. So TCU is going to win this game. Creighton and Bradley. It's going to be Creighton, and then Houston and Michigan State. I think it's going to be Houston. A close one again, like I said. But I think Houston's going to get it done. And we'll go back to this side. Alabama, St. Mary's. I'll go with Alabama. And I heard one comparison that said Alabama is this year's Auburn. I think that's so wrong. I think Alabama is miles better than the Auburn team we saw from last year. Virginia and Baylor. Hell of a matchup here. I think this is one of the best matchups we could see from the whole tournament. And I think, look, here's the story. Virginia is one of the best defensive teams in the country. Baylor, they have been in years past. They're not. They're probably the worst defensive team in their conference in the Big 12. So I think, but it's tough because you obviously value guard play as well in the tournament. I'm going to go with Baylor. A couple question marks with this Virginia squad. I love Virginia, but again, the matchup against Duke that they let slip away, a couple of Big Ten matchups as well that this past week they've won by a combined score of 5 points, and they played 2 of the worst teams in the ACC. They're still top of the ACC. I think they're going to win the ACC. I think they're going to be fine, but in this spot, I love Baylor. So Kansas or Roberts, it's going to be Kansas. And then Iowa State and Missouri. I think Missouri is making a run here. I'm going to go with Missouri here. Again, I've talked about them. Kansas State and UCLA. UCLA is a team I think not a lot of people are talking about. I get their strength of schedule is not as good as other teams. It's not as bad as what we've seen from Gonzaga, and everyone trusted them, and they're winning by large margins. They still have beaten Maryland. They've still beaten quality teams. Just obviously, when you look at their in-conference, they don't have a lot of good wins per se. I think they're fine, though. Obviously, Mick Cronin, the job he's done since that March Madness run as the 11 seed, it's been unbelievable. Kentucky, Charleston. Jeez, can you imagine Kentucky and Charleston in the Sweet 16? I think it's Kentucky, though. Make a little bit of a run. TCU, Texas. I think this is where TCU's luck runs out a little bit because I'm super, super high on this Texas team. Always seems to get it done. And then Houston and Creighton. I'll go with Houston. As some people would probably, and I really do think they're going to go with Creighton in that spot. I can't bet against this Houston squad. That's just been so consistent all year long. Alabama, Baylor. Baylor is going to make a Final Four as the 2 seed out there. And then for this side, I think Kansas will get it done. They match up. Obviously, it was one of the better games. We've seen that this year out there in the Big 12. We see it again, the Final Four right here. Then we'll go to the other side, Kentucky, UCLA. I think this is going to be UCLA as the 2 seed right there. And then Houston and Texas. I think we're going to get a lot of 2 seeds in the Final Four. I'm going to go with Texas here. Love this Texas squad. UCLA is going to go in the Natty. And then Baylor and Kansas, again, it can go up in the air just because the teams play so competitive against each other. The last matchup we saw Kansas won at home. And I think Baylor will get it done now, though. I think their guard play, again, I think Virginia and Kansas are the 2 toughest matchups. I think they'll be fine with Alabama. But Baylor, UCLA in the national championship, 2 versus 2. I don't even know the last time that's happened, but 2 versus 2, I'm going to go with Baylor repeating as national champions. I think, now that I'm thinking about it, should I go with UCLA? Both teams definitely have problems. Baylor, their defense, and UCLA, their strength of schedule. I think Baylor will figure it out. Mark Few is obviously one of the best coaches. Baylor is winning it all. So that's what I have for my March Madness bracket predictions. I'm expecting every single one of you to agree with me in the comments. Obviously, that's not true. But thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you think about my bracket for real. I'm down to discuss with you guys in the comments. It's always fun to do this. Always fun to do these videos this time of the year. But we'll do another video next week. You guys can let me know what you want to see. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys later.